Hello everyone, Russell Wright and team from Local Leads Empire. Today we're going to be covering the rest of the story, and you've been waiting patiently and exercising, going through all the exercises and reading the material that we do have for you. Matt has safely moved to South Africa and has been creating lots of great stuff for us, and we've been collaborating with him on that. Today we're going to cover the basics. This is the business blueprint step-by-step traffic aspects. We're going to cover some of the basic intros of traffic aspects, and obviously we're going to be offering you a lot of material on this topic because we have dozens of other types of courses and material that we cover, and we also have live certification events around twice a year where sometimes all three of us, sometimes just Sue and myself, talk about this stuff. Plus we have a lot of new material coming out as the web changes on this, so just know that this particular event today is just going to be scratching the surface. We're going to be continuing to load up the members area with some of the best kept secrets of our live certification events. And we're really excited to be introducing you a lot of the new methods and techniques. So with no further ado, I'm going to introduce Matt, and we're going to just jump right in. And again, we do have Sue, the question line is open, is that correct?
It is.
Okay, so we do have somebody manning that aspect of the help function here. So if you have a question and it doesn't get answered right away, just have some patience. We'll try to wrap around everything. And if for some reason, sometimes we get hundreds of questions in on these live events and we're not able to answer them all live, we're trying to go through them independently because it makes for great material for the actual members area as well. So we'll do the best that we can. And with no further ado, I'll step out of the way. And Matt, thanks for being with us, and welcome back.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Russell. Thanks, Sue. Welcome, everybody. And this is my favorite part of the whole Local Lead Empire business, because what we're going to do today is we're going to basically just look at probably 3 or 4 core points, okay? And through this presentation, because traffic generation is such a huge topic and there's so many strategies and techniques, it's virtually impossible to address everything. So after thinking really long and hard on this while I was traveling back to South Africa, I figured it's best if I actually show you a few techniques on how to actually reverse engineer your competitors and look at what they're doing, and then how to think about how you want to generate traffic. So just to recap briefly on days 1 and 2 where we spoke about Local Leads Engine. The core principle of LLEBB is this, okay? We've got the lead engine is the database. That's where all our leads get stored. And what we're doing is we're addressing sectors where we're generating multiple leads for a sector, which then gets categorized and then redirected and distributed to businesses requiring those leads. And we own the network that generates those leads as well as the database. Now, some of you have built your websites and you're actually keeping up with us. Others are still working through understanding the core principles. But to make it as simple as possible, what you want to do is you want to create a lead engine site which feeds into the lead engine, which is typically you can use AWeber or one of the autoresponder services. What happens is the guy fills in the lead, it goes to the autoresponder, it then gets that form or that list automatically redirected to the list owner, which is essentially your client that you have got signed up, who's taking the leads off you. Okay? Now, that's as basic as that part of the system is. Now what we're going to do today is we're going to speak about the traffic and how to actually drive traffic to the lead engines. Because once we understand this part, in tomorrow's session, we're going to start speaking about automation and how we extract you out of the system and we put the right people in place to actually man and manage that specific lead engine website. Okay, so I was going to flip the screen. If the screens don't load fast and it's not clear, just let me know, because we're still working with the local provider here to get the internet streaming nicely for us. Okay, so today's agenda is traffic. Okay, then we're going to speak about reverse engineering your competition. I'm going to show you some basic methods. They're actually very powerful and they're really quick and easy to do. I'm going to show you a free version, and then I'm going to show you a paid version. Okay, some of you may use Majestic SEO, others might not be aware of it. Then we're going to talk about traffic generation, free traffic versus paid traffic. Okay. Then at the end, we'll do the Q&A. Ping through your questions for the end, so we've got a log of the questions. Sue will be manning the questions, and if they are really important and they need discussions, then Sue will interject and she'll bring it forward. If she doesn't bring a question forward, we'll just run through them at the end, and we'll grab and try and answer all the questions. So if I can follow this format today, I think that'll stop the flow of what we're doing get broken, because I want to show you guys some really cool tricks. Some of you may know it, but others might not. So I'm going to sort of freestyle the reverse engineering part and just use Google and 2 tools and show you how we can actually look about things and how we can actually reverse engineer what guys are doing. Okay. Right, so traffic. What traffic do you need? Okay. Okay, so when you think about traffic, you need to decide on how you're going to drive more traffic to your site and what type of traffic do you need. Now, traffic breaks down into 2 parts, free traffic and paid traffic. So before we get into traffic, we want to first look at our competitors and see what is it that they are doing. Because when you're working with local leads, you're dealing with multiple sectors, multiple markets, different types of businesses, and because the web is so diverse, there's different platforms that cater to different types of people. So for example, if it's in the dental industry, you'll have different types of forums and places where people want to communicate, and you can use those places to drive traffic. So what we'll do is we'll do a quick snoop around and we'll figure out how these guys are driving traffic. So this brings us to reverse engineering the competitor. So in order to compete, you just got to outthink the guys in position number 1. That's basically as simple as it gets. You just got to be one step ahead, and if these guys have spent months building their site to get themselves ranked and they've gone through all the hard work, let's just slipstream in behind them, have a look at what they've done, and then just do it better. Okay. So one core point I want to raise here is when you look at competitors, always keep in the back of your mind, are they following the crowd, or do they really understand how to drive traffic? This is a very, very important thing that I want you guys to be aware of. If the competitor is following the crowd, you'll pick up the signals that they're leaving behind, and you'll be able to see it. And what I want you guys to learn today is to start thinking out of the box. It's really, really important in this business that you think out of the box and you tap into the traffic that's there. You need to think about these things. You need to understand what it is you want to do before you do it, and it'll save you a lot of money and you'll have a lot more success. If you just follow what everybody else is doing, you know the end result is going to be, it's not going to be that great. Okay. So let's look at what the competition is doing, and then let's have a look and see what is working. So there's 2 fast ways to analyze competitors. Okay. We can use the Google's in-text command. This is what we use in the search bar with the competitor's domain. This is free, and it takes a bit more work and a bit more time, but there are some shortcuts we can use to actually get a quick idea of how it works. Then for guys who've got Majestic SEO, it's a very cool tool. We can pick up on some really interesting things, and the reason why I bring Majestic into this story is because of the new features that actually, in the algorithm, they're measuring citation, and they're measuring the sites that are passing links back to your website on how strong they are with regards to citation, which is pretty important for what we're doing. Okay, so traffic footprints everywhere, Google in text. If you think of what we're doing when we're driving traffic, essentially we are promoting and we are trying to get our message out there, and we're trying to drive people back to our website. And typically the footprint would be the URL where the top level domain will be in, and that's a cool footprint to use. So what you do is you first go to Google, you type in the primary keyword. So what I've done is I've gone to Google here and I typed in Glasgow carpet cleaning, and excellentcarpetcleaningglasgow.com came up as number 1, and this is who I'm going to use as the case study today. Okay. Next, we copy the domain in position number 1, and we type in text competitor domain name. So I'll show you again what we've done here. We've got in text with no space and then just the top level domain, and we press search. And that brings us back 91 results. Okay. What's going to happen now is we're going to start having a look at what properties are being used where the top level domain is actually being put in. Okay. So when we look at this, we typed in carpet cleaning over there. We saw a million results for that search phrase, broad match. We then went to in text. And what we're going to do is we're going to pay attention to the different properties the competitor is using for promotion. And we're looking from a very top level idea. We're going to see what type of platforms are these guys who are number one using to get their message out there. Is a computer building backlinks or is it driving traffic? That's a very, very important thing. Okay? You don't want to be building backlinks. That's something you don't want to be focused on. All you want to think about is selling the click, driving traffic. That is all you're interested in. Okay? Now, what we're going to try and do is we understand what is working in the sector and what is not. And we'll have a look at what they've done, and we're going to say to ourselves all the time, would I click on this link? Because if you want to click on a link, nobody else is going to click on the link, and this is what we have to look for. We want to take note of the call to actions. How are they communicating with the audience? How are they causing the audience to actually, what are they saying or what are they doing that's actually attracting those people back to their core property? And are the call to actions better than yours? Okay. We're going to look out for properties that you've not heard of. So there might be some local directories that you've not heard of that you can tap into. And you want properties to have low Alexa scores and high citation value. And in Majestic, we can quickly and easily see that. Okay. So one thing to be aware of when you see this is the KML tag that gets put in front of the listing. And this is basically keyhole markup language. And this helps with the geographical locations, annotations, and visualizations on the 3D and 2D maps that come with local searches. So if you see that, then you know that your sites need to be optimized for that as well. So let's just hop across to Google and have a look here. Okay, so I've done in text with 91 results, and you see the top, I've changed my settings. I've clicked on this, search settings, and I've set it to 100. And the reason why I've done that is I want to see the top 100 results. That's what I'm interested in. Okay. Let's shift this down a second, move my scroll bar. So as I scroll down this list, you can see it's all the domains and you can see all the information they have. Now, looking at this, you can actually see the Euro structures and the descriptions. It's all the same. Everything is the same. There's a lot of duplication on this site, and these guys are number one. So from an SEO perspective, we can outrank them purely by SEO. As we keep moving down, this is where we pick up on the KML tag. Now, always when you look at these things, pay attention to them, because if they are using documents or PDFs or text files or Excel or spreadsheets, you'll see that little tag of there will actually tell you what type of document it is. Okay, so that's a key little thing you want to look out for is those little tags, and pay attention to those. Okay, as we scroll down, you'll start seeing the domains will start changing. Okay. Now, WHOIS, these guys, you can see they've been doing a lot of work on their site. They're using WHOIS and they're looking at diagnostics and they're checking their website value. At the moment, this site's worth $218 or $219. We're not worried about that stuff. And we're going to start seeing things like talkreviews.com. So all I do is I basically just tap that open. Yeah, we've got Groupon. So you've got Talk Reviews Groupon. They've done a Groupon deal. So we can have a look at what they've done there. 192 is a directory. They use the directory. Let's go down here a little bit more. Go to use website SEO. There's Yell.com. Here we can see the guys are using Yell. Here they're using Twitter. And a little trick you can do is you can press Control F and you can click Highlight All and you just go next. And you can see the Facebook page that they've got and what they're saying and how many times they have it. If we type in Twitter and we highlight all, we can see all the tweets and how they're retweeting. So I'm scrolling here slightly, and you can see how many retweets these guys have done with the same message all the way through the campaign. and all who the users are. So there's a lot of retweets. Okay. And just by using this method, we can see YouTube, there's a video. What it basically does, excuse me, it brings up what they're saying, how they're saying it, what keywords they're targeting, what descriptions they're using, and we can actually see what these guys are doing. Okay. So here's a Groupon ad, and here you can see they're clean 2 rooms for $35, and there's the offer there. Okay, and they've got a negative 65%, so we can actually look into what's going on with the ad, how they've run it, and what's going on. Okay. So what we found when we just gone through that list, we found local directories, we found a Groupon ad, you see that they're listing themselves in Yelp, they're using Twitter, they're using Facebook, they're using YouTube, and we found all these results within the top 100 results. So that gives us a good foundation to start looking at what the top competitor for the primary keyword we're going after is actually using to promote. Okay. So in summary, within a few moments, we can basically get a general idea of how the competitors is setting up the top slot and how they're driving their basic traffic. So next we're going to look at Majestic, and we're going to look at how we can get a different view of what the competitor is doing to earn the top slot. So looking at Majestic, typically when you go to Majestic, I'll hop across it quickly for you guys to see. I'll close that down there. Oh, come on. What you do is, Majestic SEO, you basically just type in the domain name, and you can choose from the HTTP, www, or the root. So as we flip through these, you'll see the referring domains and the backlinks and all these things change. And what's great about this, it actually shows us the trust flow. The more trust there is, the higher the speckles run, and the more citations there are, the higher things are over here. Now we can see they've got 22 referring domains. They've had 151 backlinks in the last 5 years. They've not done much on their website. Okay. From a WW perspective, our trust and citation is low, and over here you can see the citation. There's basically only 16 sites that are giving them their citations, and these numbers are really, really low. So from an outsourcing perspective, this can easily be a 5 gig. All we're going to do is get our list of things that we want our citations done on, and then we can present this off to the guys. Okay, so I'll just look at the top level route. And once again, you can see the citations are really low. So what I like looking at over here is the trust flow. This basically means that there's 8 websites that are trusted that are linking back to the top level domain that we're looking at over here. The citation flow is basically the score that they're getting. If we hover over here, it's the weighted number of citations that they have. Now as we scroll down a little bit more, we can see the referring domains, how they've gone up and down, and we can also see the anchor text distribution. So most of their attention is on carpet cleaners, okay, Glasgow. That's what they're focusing on. Next, they focus is visit, excellent carpet cleaning Glasgow, then is carpet cleaning, okay. But what I want to show you today with this, which is really cool, is this new section under backlinks. It's new backlinks versus lost backlinks, and this is quite interesting when you look at what's going on with their promotions. When I've looked at this information, typically these guys have been building backlinks. That's what their focus is on. They're not focusing on promotion, they're focusing on building backlinks. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at what properties they value, what tactics Google dislikes and they're losing backlinks from, how strong is the competitor's citation profile, and then we're going to look at what anchor text is the competitor focused on. Okay. It's going to take us a few minutes to just basically figure out what's going on with this guy here. So with the new tab, we basically look in this tab over here. Then we're going to look at the lost tab, the link profile, and the referring domains. Now, under the New tab, they show you how many backlinks the person's actually creating over a period of time. And we can see they're doing less than 10 backlinks a month. It's just they're doing such little backlinks at the moment. They're not doing much promotion on their website. Okay. Now, what's interesting is on the lost thing, in the last 2 weeks, they've actually done a lot of, they've lost a lot of backlinks. A lot of the backlinks have been lost. And that caught my attention. I thought that was quite interesting. And I thought to myself, what promotion is ineffective that they're doing? Okay. So when you look at that, you can very quickly see through Majestic what actions people are taking that has a negative effect on their backlink portfolio, and what actions are actually a waste of time that are costing money. And when I was digging into this, I dug a bit deeper into it, I was seeing that the blog comments that they were doing were being dropped and lost. So that's telling us that blog comments are not liked by Google. Google's basically disregarding these things and throwing them out of the index. Because the way Majestic works is they index the web with their own database, they store and archive this information, and when they go index again, those links are gone. They're not trackable. And it's quite interesting how this all works. Okay, so it seems that comment posting is getting dropped from the index. Now, in your traffic campaign, are you going to do comment posts? This is one thing you have to think about. Sue, have you got something to say on this?
I do. The reason that you see blog comments drop is because the blog post itself reached an archive state. In other words, it was more than 30 days old, and it stopped having significant amount of traffic to it. And so then, like a magazine subscription, it just gets discounted. So any of the links on that also get discounted. Google's been doing that for a while now.
Yeah. So those type of strategies, they're typically short term. They last for, like Sue said, 30 days, and then they lose their value. So what we want to do is we want to find ways that we can build backlinks, we can write promotions, and we can create things that are going to keep us in the forefront of people's attention. This is the core thing here. This is why I'm just taking you through the Majestic thing fairly quickly. Okay, so when you're building your traffic strategy and you're thinking about it, be aware of what's going on in the actual market that you're targeting. Okay, so the next thing I look at here in Majestic is the referring domains, and this is really cool. The referring domains basically give us the locations our top competitors are publishing on. Okay, so we want to pay attention to these locations, but we will make sure the properties carry enough weight to justify publishing on it. Okay, don't let the blind lead the blind. And when I'm saying that, I'm basically saying just because it's there, it doesn't mean it's a good property. So when we look at the referring domains here for this campaign the guys have been working on, earlier I mentioned look at the Alexa score to make sure it's low, and look at the citation flow. You want the trust and citation flow high. So Travel Digger is where the guys doing a lot of blog comments, and those all lost value. They got no Alexa rank. That website's actually worth nothing. Okay, and the citation flow and the trust rank's pretty low as well. Whereas Dropjack is a big type of platform, and they've got a fairly low Alexa rank, which means they're getting a lot of traffic. They're 10,384th in the world. Their citation flow is pretty high, and they've got a fair amount of trust. They're in the top, if you look at all these numbers, they're probably in the top 50% of being trusted. So typically what you'll do is you'll look at low Alexa scores. Here we've got brownbook.net. Once again, this is another directory listing which is specific to the UK, and it's got a high trust flow. If you go down here again, WebJam, there's another one. Here's another one here, fnfunny.com. Then we get down to the bottom of the barrel here, YouTube, 399 out of 100. It's got 98% trust factor. Tumblr, 9387. BostonHerald.com, 3000, 6862. I don't know how effective this is going to be in the UK, but they are putting links over there. And then we go through the list of all the other ones. And what you're doing with Majestic, we're just cherry picking what is good out of this lot. We can actually export out the whole list by downloading the CSV, and you'll get every single backlink that these guys have created. And this gives us a good base to start with. Now with domainwebstudio.com, in the promotion and syndication area of the thing, it basically creates a whole promotional plan for us, and it takes these places into account, and you can actually add custom properties. So if it's not in the default directory, you could actually add WebJam and have your guys go and create profiles or post articles or content on those properties. And those properties, once you post them and put the information out, that feeds into DWS's feed out, and then you can take that, and with DWS it will get all bookmarked and syndicated and all that kind of stuff for you really, really well. So with that, what the core thing about traffic is to remember that for every good traffic campaign that you do, you generate backlinks. So if you focus on driving traffic and selling the click and capturing the people's attention and leading them back to your primary website, your golden frame, the byproduct is always going to be a backlink. And it's going to probably be a backlink that sticks because you've got the user's attention, they're interacting, they're moving from that place where you're speaking to them, and they're actually going back to your primary site, and then they're transacting there. They're actually filling in the form, they're requesting the information. So think about traffic, think about how you can address the pains, and think how you can write the painkiller articles that will actually bring the people back to your primary website. Okay, so when you go through this process, make your list of the properties, check them out, and see if they're actually worth your while. If they've got no page rank, don't bother with them. If their Alexa scores are low, don't bother with them. Just look for the really, really good ones. So out of this list of 10 here, I cherry-picked 1, 2, 3, 4 properties that I want to basically look at, which I've never thought of. Like, for example, Browse Glasgow. That would be something I would look at. But when I look at it here, it's got no trust. It's got no Alexa. It's basically a new website. And is this something I want to work with? I don't know. I have to go look. But typically, you cherry-pick these ones, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck when you work with them.
Can I just say that the ones that we've got inside of Domain Web Studio and the list that we have inside the members area, those are things that Matt and I have culled already. And we've got them listed out by countries. We don't have every country there, but we've got, I think, all the English-speaking countries. And,
yes, it's all English-speaking.
Right. And so, you know, we've done the heavy lifting for you, and it doesn't mean that there wouldn't be some niche directories out there that you might want to get your citations into, but if all you did was go with the major ones, you'd be okay. You'd probably outrank and get the majority of the traffic. 90% of your traffic is going to come through those.
Yeah, soon I spent probably a good 2 months working on those lists and checking those things out and seeing how much page rank they have and have they got the weight so that when you put your listing on it and that listing goes out through the one feed and you get your backlinks back to that directory listing, that the actual page rank will siphon off the top level domain, bring it back to you, that the citations will stick, that actually benefit your website. And with this exercise that I'm showing you now, just as Majestic, I just wanted to expose you to a different way of looking at data and finding things that are worthwhile looking at. You don't need to have 100,000 backlinks. Okay, if you can get them, that's great if they're of value. But the majority of the time, a lot of the backlinks are junk. So if you treat your backlinks as a portfolio and you only want to have good backlinks running in, that makes you cherry pick the properties that are worth working on. Okay, so moving forward, the properties that you discovered will give you an idea of the new platforms that you can tap into to create backlinks and drive up traffic. This process will rapidly bring you up to speed with what your main competitor is doing. Now, from this exercise, looking at these guys and what they're doing, I can see they've just been reading ebooks and they're basically following the crowd. They're doing what everybody else is doing. So how are we going to do what they're doing better? Okay. So this is where we get into traffic generation. This is where we get into the free traffic. Now, with free traffic, the reason why I call it free traffic is because we've got video, coupon, classified ads, Twitter, social, online promotions, search engine rankings, and Google Places. Now, for instant traffic, you can essentially go and create a video, put it live on your YouTube channel that you've created, and you can start getting clicks back to your website instantly. If your video is really good and it captivates the audience, they will follow through. Okay, the same is with classifiers and coupon ads. Depending where you are in the world, you either got Craigslist or you got Gumtree or type of sites like that, or coupon sites. You could place your coupon out there, it'll hit the people's mobile apps and they will come back directly to your website. Same with classifieds. You can put your ad up and within hours you can have guys clicking through to your website to see your promotion or your special. That's instant traffic. Those are things we can turn on now. And it's things we can repeat over and over and over and over again to constantly keep on driving more traffic to our site. With Twitter, we can tweet and we can drive traffic straight away with Twitter. With online promotions, depending on what you want to do with your website, they take time because you got to create the promotion. You have to put everything in place. You have to get to speak to JVs if you're going to do that. You have to create the emails to broadcast and send them out. They're all time-based. They take time. So those are also potentially free traffic, but there's a lot involved to get it to actually mature and manifest something. Search engine rankings, everybody, that's what we've all been focusing on for a long time. This takes time. It's not something that can happen overnight, okay? Unless you're using website style architecture, then the time to get ranked is a lot shorter, okay? And then Google Places. This is also time-based because you have to get your citations and you have to get your trust and you have to actually have your reviews and all those kind of things in place. You have to have your Google Plus page set up now to get the Google Places to work. So it's all those components you've got to put in place to make that all work there.
Yeah, and Matt, I'd like to add something here.
Sure.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
This is something that I've been catching up on a lot of the stuff with Sue because she's done so much in the local stuff with me, and this is something that's not easily. You might not grasp it to begin with, but obviously, if you've never done this before, Google Places is the absolute last thing that you want to do. And we talked about that a little bit this weekend, right, Sue?
In a timeline way. It's not like it's the last thing you want to do and that you don't want to do it, but in your timeline.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Wow, did it sound like that?
Yeah.
Jeez. Let me, hey, it's early here. Yeah, in other words, it really isn't clear for a lot of people that I've talked to that Google Places, the reason why Google Places is the last item you want to check off of your list when it comes to setting up your citation network. And we're also going to talk about some Ninja stuff dealing with Panoramio and KML files on Panoramio, which is a very little known method of, like, if you do no other backlinks for your local thing, Panoramio is the one you want to do. But Sue, can you describe what you and I talked about this weekend as to why you do Google Places last?
Well, what you want to do is you want to have a method to your citations, because in the U.S. there's about 45 places that Google actually responds to, and they go out and they search those directories on a regular basis for new entries, and they will automatically create a places spot for you. And so what you want to do is come in after the fact and claim that listing. If you do it the other way around, then you run the risk of your citations not marrying up with your places, your pre-existing places
exactly
page.
Exactly.
So,
and it's not if you haven't done it before, it's not that obvious. It's one of those things that you've got to learn by trial and error. Like sometimes on Google Places, you'll see listings where the same address, it's the same company, but they've slightly they haven't been consistent on their citation name. For example, ROAD as road versus RD, road.
Yeah.
And they get a double listing, which can be very confusing to the brand. Now, what happens later on is that those two listings will merge eventually, because Google is getting pretty good at trying to merge things. But during the merging process, they may leave out an important inconsistency, like an image or a special citation link or whatever. So the idea here is just not to scare you, but just keep in mind there's a method to the madness, and you want to make sure that you do get Google Places, like Sue was saying, accurately, and then you keep all of your data consistent through all of your citation processes. And we'll talk more about that. It's really important because it's a real bummer to do a lot of citation and have the address not be consistent or the name not be consistent, have two listings, and then when they get merged, to lose some important citations associated with one of the listings and one of the KML files as well. Okay.
Yeah. So if you look at this image where I got you can sort of see that when Sue and I were talking about this, we sort of put video at the top as the primary drive. It can get you a lot of traffic really quickly. Okay. Then we sort of drop down to classified ads, where that's something you can knock out very quickly. It's your call to action, and bang, there's always guys looking for stuff in Gumtree or those Craigslist. Then with Twitter, we can punt out our stuff and we can retweet all our promotions. Then we get into online promotion, which takes more time, like I says. That's your citations, that's doing your directories, all that kind of stuff. And that automatically has a direct impact on your search engine rankings, because the backlinks are pointing back to these pages. That gets it floating up, and then when we get down to Google Places, all of this other stuff's in place already. We just go and claim the listing. So that's sort of the method behind the madness of how we've mapped this out.
Are you going to talk more about each one of these things, Matt?
Yes, we can. I've sort of left this as an open forum for you and Russ to sort of interject and say what you want to say. I know that you guys love video, so I'll let you have a little chat on that, Sue.
Well, Russ has already got, he's put up a video, his favorite video technique in the members area. Do you want to say something about that, Russ?
Yeah, well, actually, so far it's only been a conversation that we had when Matt was moving, and there was very little written about it at this point. I'm trying to come up with the best way, probably going to do a short video to show you guys. Main thing that you need to know with video is whether it's your own site or whether you're working with clients in the local, you really want to have the phone number in the subject line. That's the main thing. And when it comes to generating traffic, which is really what this course is about, you definitely get traffic from video, both for people trying to find that local business, as well as, it's really interesting because we haven't gotten into that this much, but it's becoming more and more obvious that the phone number is very much related to, you really have to track the phone number if you're going to be in the leads business.
Oh, yeah.
It's a conversation that Sue and I had this weekend, because if you're doing this method and you don't want them to just call the business owner, because then you don't get credit for it, right? You need to start capturing leads and having, phone number tracking for your leads, and then you need to be able to profit from the leads, especially if you're brokering them. So that's something we'll get into a little bit later on. But if you want to drive traffic to your particular website, the syndication of the video through the web using RSS feeds is pretty important, and it's pretty easy. I'll go ahead and give a basic outline. Sue and I already did that. I don't know if you've made the last webinar, the kind of supplementary webinar we had. The bottom line is that you want to create a YouTube channel. Obviously, since the method we're teaching is less about clients and more about you owning the platform. But regardless, it's pretty easy to start dominating a local idea, a local theme, using a YouTube channel. It's one of the faster ways to do it, because YouTube generates so much traffic and page rank, even though there are no follows in the description. Sue and I get into this a lot. There's a lot of conversation about this. Some of that stuff has become fairly irrelevant, whether it has a no follow or not in the description, because there's so many other aspects, there's so many indicators and traffic signals with a YouTube channel that I do have one associate who's generating all of his traffic signal and page rank via YouTube for local. Okay, so that's one of the things that you want to do. One thing that you can do is you can take your YouTube RSS feed, and I'm not talking about the YouTube RSS feed that's obvious that they give you on your channel. We'll go ahead and leave you the link to the technical RSS feed, and you can submit that to all of the directories, which is something that you just really want to do. Okay, not just Pingler for pingbacks and the rest, but you want to go to all of the RSS directories. And there's various methods to do that. Okay, and we teach this in the one feed to rule them all, and so on and so forth. Does get you some pings, does get your channel, does even get you human traffic to your videos if you have them out. Now, that method is a lot better if you've got consistent videos going out. And in most local niches, you tend to use up videos rather quickly, so it's not like you're an ongoing blog where you've got tons of videos going all the time. Nevertheless, it's still a good idea to put your YouTube video out on the RSS directories. Another method that we taught is to mix the video RSS your video RSS channel, that is your YouTube video RSS channel, with another high page rank channel that's already out there, that's in your niche, that has a higher page rank than you, and use something like Yahoo Pipes or FeedBlitz or any of the other type of feed mixer technologies, and submit that mixed feed to the directories as well. And what that does is that seems to give you a page rank blend, a page rank blending effect, as long as that channel that you're mixing with has the same keyword and focuses on the same keyword. That's a really easy way to ride the wake of a higher page rank, higher trafficked, more frequent video YouTube channel and get yours not only indexed very quickly, but you also get traffic back to your site because of the way that you mix it. Okay, so it really does depend on what it is that you're trying to do, but it definitely does seem to work because a lot of what's happening right now, I don't know how long this is going to last. I want to preface this, you guys, with I don't know how long the video RSS stuff is going to work. It's working primarily because there are a lot of video and video RSS jackers out there. What they end up doing is they end up pulling the feeds. Not that I resemble this or anything. Not that I would ever do this. But you create WR2 or video automated video sites. See our course coming up next month on how to do this. Hint, hint. There's a way that you can pull a lot of these videos from different directories, and there's a lot of people pulling videos from feeds, okay, and YouTube directly. And if your video, and they're pulling them by keywords, so if your video gets caught up in the mix, it creates a little bit of extra traffic through the RSS feeds and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's one way with video to do that. The other way is just to think really clearly. Start getting your keywords ranked and your description ranked for even 1 or 2 videos for your local WordPress or your local site that you're creating. And it's amazing how quickly you can start getting traffic just immediately. It's a great way to kickstart the website for ranking. It's a way to validate all of these methods. So that's what I would say about video.
Okay.
Okay. The coupon/classified, especially the classified, I'd like to talk about for a second. I've gotten really mixed results with classified ads depending on what market I was in, and I would say watch the classified ads that come up. Think outside the box a little bit if you're not getting any results, and do queries on your market to see what other people are talking about, how they're approaching ads, and what seems to be getting responses, and just try a bunch of different things. You want to be careful if you're running more than one user ID, or if you're going outside, don't go outside the terms of service in terms of the number of ads that you put on Craigslist and stuff like that. You'll get your account banned and you won't even know it. And you want to make sure that you use proxies if you've got multiple accounts, all that kind of good stuff. So
because they actually spoof.
Yeah.
They give you the impression that your ads are love, but they're not love.
Right.
Yeah, Craigslist notorious spoofer.
Yeah. So so there's a few tips for that. Twitter let's just talk about Twitter for a second. You can do searches. If you're a Twitter account, you actually put the locale in your Twitter account, you will see other people's locales. If you're generic about your locale, you won't see other people's locales. I found that really fascinating. It's something that I just found in the last couple months. So if you put in your locale and you're doing searches, then you can actually do a search for your locale name and your keyword, and you'll see other people with that interest or where they're talking about that, and you can follow those people. If you retweet people, you'll get more people tweeting you, following you back. I find local is a lot better if it's more hands-on and less generated through some of these auto-follow systems, because you're looking for people who obviously need a local service. So. Yeah. So I would recommend going that way. Facebook is a little bit of a different animal. You want activity on Facebook, and you don't, obviously you're looking for local people, but I would go ahead and get a bunch of friends. Like, I would just, I'd buy some friends and make it look good. And
you can't buy your friends.
Oh, sorry. All of my friends are bought.
You absolutely can buy your friends, and you absolutely can. If you get them in the right place, you can get excellent results. And
yeah.
You guys you'll hear mixed things about this. Try to get friends from friend exchanges that are actually real people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more expensive. You can do it. Some of the automated video and social sites that I create get clicks to links inside Facebook and videos despite themselves, even though they're purchased people if you go to the right market niche. When it comes to local stuff, you're not going to have as good a luck converting. But the primary reason that you do that, and I think most of you guys know that, the primary reason you do that is for some social proofing with your like box, which is a really good thing to have on your main site, even if it's a local site.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you've got a local hair salon and there's 200 or 300 people that are already populating that like, generally speaking, unless the clients think they know something about Facebook, they'll be really happy to see a like box on their page that's got populated faces. But you got to be careful where you buy that stuff. Try to get, real human stuff, and you got to be really careful with it. But just remember, the main purpose you do that is for social proofing. It has a measurable impact on conversion on the site when it appears like there are people and faces, primarily because of the way the face impacts the brain. And a lot of the times, if you're working with a local business, they already have people that like the thing, but since this, that like their business. But since this is a platform you're keeping, you're designing, you're building, you're going to want to kickstart it with that type of stuff. It's really, it's really up to you, but that's one of the things that you might want to consider. And also, I've been looking at a lot of local Facebook fan pages. It's a little bit of a different world, so we should probably have a little bit of discussion at some point, not on today's call, on the difference between designing a local Facebook fan page, which is more likely, it's a more likely candidate for special kind of deals, and to have your local Facebook location on as an app on the Facebook fan page in a similar way that you have a Google Map KHL file on your website for a location. There are things you can do in Facebook as well that are more localized and give it a much friendlier, local look. So we can talk about that.
One of my friends that I helped sort out with the local leads, what he's been doing on the Facebook is he's been doing it for a local restaurant up in the area, and what he's got from them is every week he basically gets the specials for the week, and on the day the special's on, he posts out the special and has people actually place their orders through Facebook for the company, and it's actually working really, really well. So then what they do is they have the link to PayPal, and the guys actually go and they pay, and the email comes through, and that's the order for the actual pizza or the lasagna or whatever they've ordered. So we sort of took Facebook and we turned it into an online ordering system for local promotions.
Oh yeah, things are going that way. Facebook is an ideal place when you know how to. I think one of the most confusing things when I coach or talk to people or mentor in social media is what kind of a relationship to have between your main website and your own Facebook page. And of course, folks, there are people that have replaced their entire website with their Facebook fan page. And I know why they've done that, but I can't recommend that at this time. It's just not a good idea because there's just too many other channels. In fact, I know several local businesses that they only have a Facebook fan page. It's just we're just, that's not a good way to go. In fact, where the web is going is more of an integrative approach with Open Graph, right? And all these different things. So you don't really want to do that per se, in this business that we're showing you here. But there's all kinds of crazy things. Like, again, I'm going to talk to Matt and Sue. We're going to release a little information about Panoramio. Panoramio also integrates directly with Facebook, which really helps the Facebook local fan page do some amazing things. And Panoramio is a secret backlinking ninja method for local as well, which we're gonna probably release later on. So these are things to consider when you're generating traffic. Is your relationship or your context or your framework has to be really clear in your mind, and how you incorporate your Facebook into your main site is a real key component, real question. I would say definitely a like box, and there are certain other kind of opt-in things that you may or may not want to include. But the bottom line is that make sure that you do have a fan page associated with your local page, and then do start integrating both the local location and proximity-based apps in both your main website and your Facebook fan page. And then start percolating traffic to kickstart the rankings and the traffic to your main site from your Facebook fan page by purchasing a few likes from correct sources and just getting the energy moving when you first launch the site.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to mention on this screen is you talk about search engine rankings taking time, and I do want to point out that there are a lot of local keywords that don't take very much time. You can actually get quite a number of keywords ranked in 30 days. So, you know, you just want to look at the competition on those pages. There's a lot of local keywords where the page rank on your competitors' pages are 0. And so by the time you do your citations and you do a couple of inbound links, Bob's your uncle, you're ranking for those keywords.
Yeah, that part.
Yep.
So I think the core thing here, right, which you're speaking about, like when I mentioned how my friend, like he's built up a really strong business now, and he's, what I told him at the beginning when he started doing this whole thing was, look, think out of the box. How are you going to drive traffic? How are you going to get the people to come and interact with the business? And on that particular one where they use Facebook to put out the promotions, and just by adding a link to a PayPal button to pay for a particular type of promotion or set meal, they've got consistent flows, and they've built up the fan base on Facebook. I think it's like 400 or 500 people in the community are actually using it because they like the pizzas from their place. But now they just go through their app on iPhone, and you know, there's a special. Okay, we'll have 5 of those. They pay. The receipt goes straight to the till, and they make it, and then the guys go and deliver the food. He's tied himself into a contract now where he's making £400 or £500 a week as commissions just on setting that up. So typically this way this works, I've got the Parker pen out here, so I'm going to basically show you how the whole free traffic thing would work. Basically, typically the guy would come along and you would acquire, I'm just going to use an 0800 number for example. This is what you want to do. Okay, and that number you're going to have on your website. Now, depending where you are in the world, there'll be a telephone service that you can actually use, and these numbers are really cheap to acquire. They don't cost hundreds of dollars. You can pick them up for, well, in the UK you can buy one for like £5 a month. It's really, really cheap, but then you own that number. Then what you do is when the message systems come in place, you basically give them your 0800 number and they set it up in their systems. If you're using tracking software, then this is the number that you'll track, and you can actually have different 08 numbers for different types of local lead engines that you're building. So the guy would either phone in or he would fill in a form. Okay, so if he fills in the form, excuse the drawing, it's the first time I'm using the pen. Either way, both these things are actually going to feed directly back into your database, okay, your lead engine. Okay, so if they do the 0800 number, they phone in, that basically goes to the call center, the person answers the phone, they fill in the actual form on the client's behalf, that gets put in the AutoWeber, and then that basically gets redirected directly to the client. Now, through these different traffic channels, you can actually look at this, and if you think out of the box, you can use these platforms and you can use the traffic that you generate in very creative ways to basically get the form filled in, because this is your objective. The more of these forms you get filled in, the more you can actually invoice for at the end of the month, okay? And by using your own 0800 number, you can track the calls coming in, and by the leads, all going through the lead form, at the end of the month, everything gets pushed through the database. You just tally up the totals at the end, and whatever deal you've made, you can invoice for it that way. So this is typically how you'd use the system with driving traffic to the form, and how you'd keep accountability. Because if you don't do it this way, and they are phoning the clients directly, those calls will never be tracked, and the client will never tell you about them. So this is a very, very important thing to remember with the whole call thing, the setup of the calls. So we can clear that off, erase the drawings. Okay, so typically you got your store, your lead engine over here. Sue, I hijacked one of your pictures. I thought they're really cool. So bloody hurt me. But basically, there's your store. This is your lead engine. This is your site that's going to feed the information to the database. Now you can see the yellow arrows are all the traffic that we're driving from multiple different places. Now, what I liked about the way Sue constructed this image was we had the local search, local email, and local pay-per-click. 3 different traffic sources and mediums that we're using. And then within it, we got the website locations, silo structure, keywords, conversions, and micro formats. Now, when we come into the whole local thing, the micro formatting becomes really, really important because we need to embed the address into our sites. And when we do that, we get a lot of kudos for it, and it becomes much more easier, and everything else sort of falls into place with the whole story. Okay. So what I'm going to talk about next is Twitter traffic, Facebook traffic, YouTube traffic, local directory traffic, micro format traffic, and classified ads. That's what we basically covered in this section of the stuff now. Okay. And the organic rankings. Those are the core things that drive your free traffic. You got a lot of the social platforms and other directory things that we've spoken about, but if you think of the core components, these what you're looking at now is what drives your local lead engine for the classified as free traffic. Okay. So how do we bring it all together? This is a very important part. Okay. Because we're using WordPress for our lead engine sites, typically what you're going to do is you're going to take the RSS feed out of the website and you're going to basically feed it through Twitter and Facebook. Now, when we say feed it through, we're going to use a third-party platform or a service to basically feed it, okay? And what it does is when you write a blog or post on your website, it's basically going to publish it to Twitter and it'll publish it off to Facebook. So this is where we start incorporating automation into the whole story. Sue, would you like to have a little chat on this, just to briefly give a short description of the connection of the feeds?
I don't know that there is such a thing as a short description.
Yeah, okay. Before Sue starts, let me say something, guys. With the local leads, we're giving you the light version of what you do on a market domination type of thing. You don't need to do the whole story for local leads because the markets you're targeting is so small that it's overkill. So this is why we're only looking at Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Those are the only things we're actually going to be looking at. The rest of the stuff, you don't need to go through all those type of motions. It's just basically more. So if you could, in your words, just give the guys a description of what we're talking about.
Okay, so Russ talked about it a little bit earlier. There's a feed that comes out of YouTube, and it's like the feed that comes out of your blog. And you can take those two and you can pipe those feeds into Twitter and into Facebook. There's a number of utilities that will help you get your feed into both of those platforms. So long as, I mean, the cool thing about feeds is you tell where your feed where you want your feed to go once, and it goes there forever. It's a set and forget. So I would probably do a couple of other things besides just the social media platforms. I'd probably go ahead and set up one of those bookmarking facilities. Oh, geez, Louise, not enough coffee.
OnlyWire.
OnlyWire, yeah. OnlyWire or Ping FM. And go ahead and have somebody set up all of those. You can have somebody in Fiverr set up the entire set of bookmarking facilities for you and just run your feed through that. And then you can pick some of the more responsive feed directories. There's two different kinds of directories, right? There's feed directories and there's blog directories. And you could run both of those feeds through all of that. And then it just provides some inbound links every time you post a blog and every time you post a video, and it just helps get you'll find some surprising stuff. Just running my feed through places like Dig, I'll get traffic off of Dig. I mean, it's even more responsive if you actually go and do
Dig no longer has an RSS in.
Oh, no.
Just covering it.
Shoot.
Yeah, they took it offline. A lot of what's happening, yeah, if you look at how Dig has changed in the last, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
That's okay. I was going to say Dig is even more responsive if you go and actually curate your blog post over there, so I guess now you'll have to go do that.
Well, you got to do it, yeah, it's bookmarklet driven now, so it's more of a curation platform. So hopefully everybody understands that curation is more bookmarklet driven, whereas RSS automation is more automated. All of it's contingent upon the fact I'll try not to get on my soapbox here because everyone knows that RSS is my thing. You know, all of it is RSS automation is contingent upon the fact that someone don't take our feeds away, and there's a reason that they do that. It's a conspiracy against you. because where there is no feed, there is no power. That's why Google took it away out of the Google Reader. Done. Shared reader, gone. Feed, everywhere, all the time. Your content, however you mix it. So the idea here is that if you're not going to create a lot of content, and you're not planning on creating a lot of content, and you're not going to update the local leads website, a lot of this set and forget social media, which is more RSS syndication, which you have to be very, very attentive to Open Graph. And we have like I was teasing earlier, I have a course coming up on this very topic because it's so complex. You don't really want to even bother to feed RSS feeds through systems that you can't hang an image or a video on. Okay, it's called OG, Open Graph. Some of you may have already seen it when you're out there working on stuff where it says OG, or that horrible feeling when you try to put a link in Facebook and there's no image and all you get is this line and no one's going to click it. That's an OG fail. Okay, so these are the things that you have to learn. Now, my point here is that Open Graph, that RSS, this kind of RSS syndication functionality is only useful if you're going to add continual content to your local site. And some of you may be hoping that these sites are set and forget. Now, there's amazing things that you can do to get the rankings, and Sue's been talking about that, Matt's been talking about that, which is citation-based. I mean, Sue's an expert on citation. Like, don't get her started. You actually can just set and forget one of these local websites and just do a couple of citations, the big one being Panoramio, with backlinks with the keyword that you want to target, and you can rank fairly quickly within 15 to 30 days. And then if you never did anything else, you're going to get some traffic if you make the 7-pack or the 11-pack, right? If you do it properly,
yep,
you can do that.
Absolutely.
And so what I'm saying here, what I want to be cautious about traffic generation here is that the difference in local. Overkill is really easy to get to with the stuff that we teach you. And one of the things that we want, one of the things I'm letting you know right now that on this slide we have drawn the line. This is officially getting to be overkill for local. But the good news is that we're giving you some sneak peeks of some more advanced courses that we have. So I hope that's okay with you guys. The bottom line is that if you were in New York City and you wanted to rank for yoga, you would be having a hell of a time because there's over 180 yoga studios in Manhattan alone. Okay, and so if you were trying to do that, and I've done similar things like that, this is when you might get into that, where you might go, okay, if either you're a local client or the local stuff that you're doing, if you got a yoga studio that you're competing for in downtown Manhattan, you're going to need to update specials on a weekly basis. And at that point, you want that special, that yoga tip of the week, or that yoga image of the week, or that yoga interesting historical fact about the origins of this yoga position. You want that to be automatically going on an open graph with a video or an image. You want that to be feeding through your Facebook page and through your social media account like Twitter. And you want Twitter to be connected automatically to Twyla, which takes no work whatsoever. You just get a free Twyla account. And we'll get to, these are things that allow you every time you post to have a nice picture or image kind of propagated out there on the web and propagated to your internal social spaces so that as your client or you begins to grow that following of real local users, like Matt was explaining before, they're going to give you updates and they're going to be interested in the updates on the Facebook fan page or on the regular site. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the reason why I've brought this up and I'm sort of introducing these ideas in this course is purely because you're going to come into some markets where you're going to have to basically work more in them, whereas on other markets you can basically just set and forget. Nothing in this whole sphere is the same. And if you think of where you're going to be going with this, you're going to become a lead broker. You're going to have your own lead broker reach. You'll be selling leads to multiple companies. And you need to start thinking about the processes and how you're going to address more difficult markets. Like, for example, if you're dealing with lawyers or if you're dealing with dentists, you get or yoga, like Russell just said. And roughly what we're showing you here is the basic steps to prepare you to basically start doing that. So yeah, we said set up social media accounts, set up your branded YouTube account, set up a bookmarking account. And this is what we're introducing you to feeding the things together. Another reason why I brought this in is we get asked this question a lot in DWS. A lot of guys ask us these type of questions. And typically these are things we teach in certification. And because you guys are going to be working with these things, and I want you guys to start thinking out the box and how to automate the stuff. This is a core point why we're introducing you to how to drive traffic using automation in a sense. And it's not automation like with a bot or something. It's just connecting the properties together in the right way so that you can broadcast everywhere now.
Yeah, and the main thing I do want to make sure that you walk away from this webinar, even preceding the new courses we have upcoming, I want you guys to really have a lot of pre-knowledge about all this stuff, is ask yourself when you're dealing with feeds and you're about to thread that feed somewhere, you're about to thread a feed from a content generating source, regardless of what that source is, into a location where that can receive that feed. Is it for human beings or is it for the machines? And that's where people get wrapped around the axle big time. Now what Sue and Matt and I have done, thanks to Sue's WR1 and WR2 map, which we need to put inside the local leads area because it does apply here as well. You can't talk about one feed automation or RSS automation without talking about the WR1 money site level versus the WR2 kind of feed level, or driving traffic from unbranded locations and unbranded sites. Now that's usually overkill for most local things, but it's a great educational process to be constantly remembering. Even when Sue and I are in local, or Matt are thinking local, we're still very much aware of the WR1 as your money site, where you want to actually convert real leads. And any kind of feeds that you're generating, any traffic that you're generating that is mostly about pinging, or just getting your site indexed, or just getting a post pinged by the machines, I consider doing that mostly around the WR2 sites. So for example, when Sue talked about setting up an OnlyWire account, we'll give you good maps on this because we already have maps in the curation course as well. When you're talking about getting pings or OnlyWire is having more and more a diminishing return on investment, because it costs $5 to get like 45 accounts set up, right? And they're social accounts. But those accounts aren't really cultivated and cultured. They're not prepared usually with in a way that makes them look like real users. Okay, so you've been pretty much doing that for the machine world, for the robots, for backlinking and so on and so forth. There's going to be more and more of a diminishing return on just automatic RSS backlinking type systems, because Google is getting better and better at recognizing real human beings, which is why I teach Open Graph. Because Open Graph, this is why I teach pretty much using RSS for your videos, because videos, real human beings are attracted to videos and watching them, even when you put them out on machines. Okay, so that's the main thing to keep in mind, is we're going to get more and more. Matt's preparing you and cultivating some pretty high-end knowledge on RSS feeds that has been reserved up to this point for certification only. And as we get more and more into it, you can consider your local leads training as a precursor to the PinVid RSS automation type systems and other thing that Sue's going to show you over the upcoming months that prepare you for the new web, and also how to remain. There's a huge myth that's coming out there, and it's that automation is somehow dead. This is utterly nonsense. When you understand what kind of content and how Open Graph generates traffic, you're going to be able to use this not only for your local leads industry, but you're going to be able to use it for much larger, what Sue calls empire creation systems.
Yeah, because what you guys need to also realize is it's going to get harder and harder and harder for local businesses to keep up. They're going to have to employ people full-time just to promote their businesses at the rate things are changing. And this is why we're sort of opening up the doors slightly to give you guys a peek at what's actually going on. And with that said, just remember that we're only looking at the free traffic side of things now. There's a whole different other world of traffic that we can bring into the whole story. But I want to move on from the feed stuff now. This is just to show you how to connect up the stuff, how to bring it all together. Okay, so this is what we discussed. And we've spoken about Facebook and how we feed it through Facebook. We've spoken how we feed it through Twitter feed, Underwire, Ping FM to connect the stuff. The thing you have to remember is keep it simple. Don't overthink the local lead engine, okay? The lead engine is your database. This is the LLEB. This is the database, okay? Everything goes to your database. The money's in the list. It's all over you in your database. We're driving free traffic and we're driving paid traffic to our lead capturing sites. That's why we've used that theme. You can use any theme that you want. You don't have to use that theme as the standard. It's not the only thing you can do. We just provided you with a platform to give you a jump start so that we can get you focused on the call to action, filling in the form, capturing the lead. That's what you want to do. It's the call to action. Those are things. Keep your sites simple. Don't overcomplicate them. Don't overthink them, okay? You grow them and you mature them over time. Test and measure. Use analytics. See what's working. Tweak what's not working, okay? For the LLB sites, we want to have you, we want to basically automate as much as possible, and we want to outsource as much as possible. So start dealing with outsourcing, deal with the Fiverr gigs, get your accounts created through Fiverr, have them made, humanized, have people put pictures, fill in all the boxes, make cool things, make up stuff. I like this music, I love these videos, make it look real, so that when your sites are out there, people can actually respond to them, okay? Now, the primary purpose of these sites is to build trust and to generate leads. It's the generation of leads is what makes you the money, okay? That's what's sellable. If you've built up a lead engine that has got a lot of leads, here's an example, right? In the financial sector, every financial broker, his primary goal when he's selling you financial products is to build up a book of clients. If he's got 1,000 clients in his book, that book is worth nearly £100,000 if he had to sell his business. Purely because of the financial products that people buy over and over and over again as the years go on. Now, the same works for these lead generation businesses. You've got to think about every single lead you create that connects you to a person. And when you connect it to a person and you've built up trust with these people, you can introduce them to all sorts of things, okay, which we spoke about in the previous session of how to segment and categorize the market. Okay, so I'm hoping that these things are all starting to resonate and make sense to you of how they're all actually connected. Now, in the members area, we're going to be uploading a lot of more things. We've got a whole bunch of new courses like we've spoken about, but don't overthink it. Okay, Sue, you were going to say something as well. I just want to give you that opportunity.
Wasn't me.
Was it not you? Okay, sorry.
No.
Okay, cool. So the next step, Russ, have you got anything else to say on the last part of the free traffic side of things?
No, I think we're good, and we can't cover all of this stuff in depth on this webinar, obviously. But if you guys have questions, just shoot them through to Sue. And I realize that there's a lot of stuff around this. I actually get a lot of questions in my personal email box about this topic. So we'll be covering more and more of this in the members area, and the penny will start to drop. Pin will start to drop.
Just to give you an idea, it takes us 9 days to take the people through certification just to cover all these things. So it shows you how broad this topic is and how much stuff is actually going on. Okay, so paid traffic. The world of paid traffic is huge. Depending on what type of LLB site you're building, you can tap into various types of paid traffic networks. And if their user base is the correct demographic type for your business you're promoting, you can actually set and forget this kind of traffic. So for example, let's say you're targeting white teeth and the lead's going to a dentist. You can essentially use CPA offers. Put up a great picture, a call to action, your lead engine, bang, that's your job done. That could be your lead engine. Okay, so with a local lead engine, it doesn't have to be a whole website built out. Okay, you could have one page in your website that is actually a CPA offer, and you can drive traffic straight into that engine from that point of view as well. So they hit the offer, but then they can also get other information. We can actually start thinking about how these things work, understand how they work, and then incorporate those things into our lead engine capturing mechanisms. Okay, so what type of traffic? Paid traffic. Now what we've done here is you get CPA, PPV, PPC, banners, ad swaps, mailings, Craigslist, Gumtree, online media, and then on offline media we've got local newspapers, targeted flyer drops, local magazines, trade journals, and offline lead generation. Okay, this is the paid world of driving traffic, and I made a lot of money in the offline media. We did a lot of money over here with the business. Okay, so with it, the paid traffic breaks down into the following types. Okay, so the first one is offline traditional media, local press. What we did in the other business was we used a lot of the offline media, and that was a very, very, very expensive exercise. We got it so finely tuned that we ended up taking out full-page ads in the local newspapers, and for one publication that ad would cost us £4,000 for the full page. But because we tested and measured, we knew exactly what colors, what headlines, what images, in what part of the page, what type of story to tell, converted, and that's how we drove a lot of traffic. So we would find people on offline and we would find people online, and we sort of mirrored out the story, but we presented in different formats for the offline and the online. You get things like penny traffic, where you can buy traffic dirt cheap through different networks. But the whole point about paid traffic is demographics. Okay, paid traffic and online media, you need to understand the demographic. If you don't understand the demographic, you're wasting your time. That's as simple as I can put it to you, and you're going to burn money very quickly. So if you're going to go down a paid traffic list route, one, look at your network. We're going to put up a list. I've got a list here. Actually, I don't have it open now. In the members area, I'm going to give you a list. I've actually mapped out all the networks, the traffic networks and everything. I'm going to give you a list of all that kind of stuff. We can actually just go and look and see what they're doing. But in the market that you're dealing with, look at the demographics. Let's just say we talk about teeth whitening, for example. That's a great product or great service to promote, because everybody wants their teeth whitened, and typically they'll be 16-year-olds to 38-year-olds. Just making this up, and it could be women. Then you create your ads, you get a great graphic designer, he makes you a great picture, you build your lead engine around that, and you get the penny traffic, you get the PPC traffic, the banner traffic, and you just start driving traffic to it. But you need to understand who you're dealing with for that specific keyword. You get that combination right, and you sort it. Okay. When taking a paid traffic group, be sure, okay, so there I've just said it, the demographics of the traffic source. Now, depending where you are in the world and what you're working on, some of the networks might not cater for you. So, for example, some of the big networks in America might not deal with people out in South Africa. There might not be people that you might not be able to use it. So you got to go look for it. Some of the networks are international; they drive traffic everywhere. The trick to this whole story is to test and measure and do small campaigns and then scale. So, for example, when we did offline media, the way we started was we first took a small ad at the back of the page, and it was a 2-color ad, and we're testing colors black and yellow, and red and black and white. Sorry, 3 colors. And it was a smaller block. It was like 5 centimeters by, I think it was 5 by 10. This is a smaller block at the back of the paper. And there's 2 things we wanted to do. We wanted to test the color, and we wanted to test the headline. And we got that combination right first. When we got a good conversion and people started phoning on those colors, we then started moving the ad around on the page in different segments to see which pace on the ad actually converted the best. And after about 3 months of testing and measuring, we started upgrading to quarter-page ads. We had the colors that converted, we had the headlines, we had the font, and we also had the call to action, which worked really well. And only when we got that really down to a fine art that it was working properly, Then we upgraded to a full-page ad. But that took us up to like 4 months of testing and measuring and doing these small incremental tests to make it work. And the same applies on online. You've got to test and measure. If you don't fine-tune things and see what works, your lead engine will only perform at a certain way. Okay, but you get those stories right, the headline, the call to action, how to deal with the people, you essentially can buy the traffic. And then it comes to a classic saying where marketing is maths. Okay, it's basically I pay 50 cents, I get £2 back. And this is how you start buying the traffic. You find out how much it's going to cost you for your traffic, and you do it. So here's an example of dealing with the correct audience. Okay, so in the offline media, we would pay £4,000 for a full-page article plus one picture for the publication. Average of the publication was 2 a month, so we'll spend £8,000 a month. But to keep the numbers simple, I'm going to focus on one publication. The viewership of that publication was 25,000 people in the area that we were targeting. Okay, so we took a 1% conversion rate, which gave us basically 25 leads. So the cost of each lead, whether it converted or not, was £160. This is why. Were we addressing the correct audience? We knew up front that that number, if we did not convert that to £160, we lost £160. And obviously we were buying houses, so the profit margins were a lot bigger than doing the stuff we're doing now with local leads. But there's nothing stopping you selling these big JV trucks, all these road scrapers. You can sell anything with local leads. You could sell big yachts. Now, if you get a commission of 1% on a $4 million yacht, that's a fair chunk of change. And you might only have to sell 1 or 2 yachts a month. The point being is you need to speak to the people who can actually afford to buy yachts. And typically the publications you deal in, they charge you a whole lot more money when you actually address it. So understand that marketing is maths. You've got to understand the numbers, and you've got to understand upfront when you work with paid traffic what it's going to cost you to acquire that lead. Okay. So bringing the traffic funnels together. Start off with the free type traffic, and then as you get the stuff ranked and you see how people are responding, you're getting a good idea of who your demographic is, you're understanding who the people are that are actually contacting you and talking through your system, then you can start investigating how you can tap into the paid traffic systems. Remember, Google's only one stream of traffic. It's not the only stream of traffic on the web. It's only one channel. And in order to build a successful business, you have to have multiple channels feeding you traffic, feeding you leads. So if Google turns something off, it doesn't matter. The other things are still working, and they're bringing you business. Your business doesn't fall down. This is the core principle that you need to really grasp out of this whole course, is that you need to have multiple streams of traffic coming into your website. So it's the same in business as well. If you got your own business, you can't just have income coming from one place. You need to have multiple income streams, because if the one product becomes stale, does your business die? If you've got multiple products, you just replace the one that's become stale and you backfill it and you carry on as per usual. Okay, so when we zoom all the way out, now we can actually look at the whole traffic module. So we decide on what traffic we're going to use. We start with the free traffic, we process this, we do all our stuff. Then we come across and we say, okay, which is the best matches? Do I do CPA? Do I do PPV? And you think out of the box. Don't think just web leads of how people typically do it. Think of how you can be creative, how you can use platforms like Facebook to become an ordering mechanism that increases your value to that business and gets them to pay you more money because you're actually making them more successful. This is the trick with traffic driving. Is how do you take a traffic and how can you be creative with the traffic when they hit your site, so that at the end user side they're getting a really great service and they're getting introduced to the people that give them what they want. And then from the business perspective side, the business owner's lead generation is increasing. So if you think of what leads are the heart of the business. This is, they always say the salesman's the heart of the business. The salesman needs the leads. So effectively the lead is the heart of the business. You can get a good salesman and you can get a bad salesman. But most leads, if you do them properly, are good leads. It's only the people who have to convert them that make it good or bad. Okay, so this is the last slide on the traffic session today, and I just wanted to talk you guys through this, and I hope that through the session you sort of unlocked different ways of thinking how you can actually use the web to create traffic and bring people to you. Traffic is a way of attracting people, and you attract them and you bring them to you, and the way you attract them is by doing things that are different. When people see the same thing over and over and over again, they get bored with it. But if you're innovative and you come up with different ideas, you attract those people to you. Then it's a matter of just giving them the services they need, and this is where you start becoming successful. Sue, is there any questions that have come through? I'm sure there must be a whole bunch by now.
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who are saying that it's been eye-opening. There's been things that they haven't thought of. A couple of clarifications, but I think they were kind of specific. Yeah, I think it's pretty quiet. Can we track all of this activity with Domain Web Studio?
The traffic activity? Yes. We're busy building the paid traffic system into the module at the moment. At the moment, we've got the free promotion and syndication area. Soon I've been working on, or started to work on, the paid traffic. We're still trying to figure out what's the best way to give it to you so that it's evergreen and sustainable.
Yeah, I would say at the moment for the paid traffic, I would probably use Google Analytics and or one of the other analytics packages, and their the variables that you can tack onto the end of the URL in order to track your traffic. All right. Russ, is there anything that you want to say in summary to give these guys a couple of minutes to ask their questions?
Yeah. This has been today's webinar. Kidding. Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed that there's not more questions. So I'm kind of saying, wow, we must have really covered it incredibly thoroughly, or not had enough specifics, one of the two. So, I have a couple questions on my screen that I can't answer about specific products over here, because I know the owners of some of these products, and my reviews are not always good. So one of the things that we have done to answer the person who's asked a question about a specific product for automation and RSS automation and backlinking is that Sue and I have recently launched a module inside the networkempire.com members area, and it's basically called Back in the Box, in which we feel more, what shall I say, Sue, liberated to speak our true feelings about 90% of the products and services out there.
Exactly.
To tell you a little bit of a story about how careful we have to be. This is a closed webinar, so we can be a little bit more careful, but I haven't really talked to Sue about how careful we should be in this about specific products. Sue, I don't really know. I have somebody asking about SIND.
Yeah.
So I think the best thing for us to do is we've created an environment inside the members area where we can tell you what we're using now. And if you have specific questions on the help desk, or if you contact us directly through the software review course, Matt has been busy, so I don't approach him too much. But generally speaking, he'll probably be talking. Like today, he talked about SEMrush. And that would get a positive review inside our software review area, called the Back in the Box area. And that, since we don't do software reviews for money and all those, and affiliate kind of junky reviews you see out there on YouTube, that people only give reviews on stuff they're actually selling. I mean, that's not really being honest about products, is it? So we'll be providing more information and a huge archive of products that we either have put back in the box, this is an idea that Sue came up with, or that we're actually using. And we'll give it a positive review if Matt, Sue, and myself are still using it. And if there's a draw, like Sue is generally much harsher on products than I am in some product arrays, because Well, she's the bad cop. I tend to be the good cop overall. Part of the reason that I'm the good cop is that my requirements and what I'm looking for is slightly different. But we have a pretty good process internally now that we've set up only in the last year. And that is, I'll look at something and I'll pass it to Sue and or Matt, depending upon his workload, and we'll put it through a series of rigorous tests. Or Matt will put something through a test to begin with, and then he'll shoot it our way, and we'll go through it. If it meets a specific kind of checklist, and that's pretty rigorous because it has to fit into our worldview, which is pretty huge. It's actually way outside of the box. And if it doesn't fit contextually into what it is that we're trying to do, and the software still works, we'll tell you that, and we won't give it a back, we won't give it a back in the box review. If it does what it says it's going to do, we'll just point out that it doesn't really fit into the larger perspective, and it might waste you time. You might want to do this instead because it's more integrated. However, if a product actually is broken and doesn't work well, or is professing to do something that it really doesn't do safely, we'll give it a back in the box review and just tell you not to use it. Okay, so just, it's a heads up. That's where we're moving in that. We're going to have dozens of reviews over the next 6 months in there. So you can just log into the networkempire.com members area on the sidebar. You should see our software reviews back in the box column. And if you have any specific questions, go ahead and hit us back on that.
Yeah. Okay. So we got a lot of questions coming in now.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That was easy.
I think the best is to set it.
I want to say that I'm currently reviewing 12 different platforms that provide inbound links. I don't have any problem with what it is that Send is trying to do, but I don't use their product personally.
Yeah, and I can also speak to that a little bit, guys. I know Tom and I know the group. We've been there since the inception of Send. And obviously we know some of the founding owners that have been involved with us in the early years. I don't use Send for one particular reason. And can I be clear?
Yeah,
I can
absolutely.
do that too, right?
Yeah,
we're closed caption, right?
Closed caption.
We're closed group, closed caption.
Go ahead.
I gave a consult to the Send software community over a year ago and expressed that I'm not real thrilled, and Matt's not real thrilled. I know Sue is definitely not thrilled about softwares that don't allow me to stick my feet in there.
Or give me a feedback out.
Yeah, well, they give you, actually, no, they don't.
No, they don't.
To me, it's utterly bunk. I mean, to me, it's, if it doesn't give me a feed so I can automate my content, back in the box.
Yeah, I actually came up with a list of things, a list of requirements for my inbound links, and one of them is they got to tell me where my link is. I need to be able to go back and check the quality of the post. Yeah. And because, you got this huge quality score thing with Google now on your inbound links, so I need to be able to check that, and that's one of the things that Send doesn't do, and that's my biggest beef with them.
Hey, Sue, can you give us, I know you were going to reserve this for another expensive course, but can you give us a checklist? Can you run through some of those now as a bonus for everyone?
Let me just stick it in the members area. I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
I don't have it handy, but I can get that.
Okay. Yeah, because it's great stuff, guys. We actually, when we're going through our products for backlinking, one of the categories in our back-in-the-box area is backlinking software.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to I'm trying to hound both Sue and Matt on. I've gone through at least 6 backlinking softwares in the last 60 days. Almost 90% of them are back in the box. So we're also putting the ones in there that are useful, and there are a few. We have a few what Sue and I call hopefuls, and Matt's been a bit busy, so we haven't gone through too much of them. But we'll be talking to you more about Link Emperor and other ones that are not perfectly awful. And the main thing that I would say about Send is that it's not perfectly awful. It just doesn't provide me with 2 important things, and actually a couple of other things that are on Sue's checklist at this time. I am working with them to try to get these things added quickly, so that I can be more positive, so that I can get on live webinars and say, hey, Send is like the best thing since sliced bread. And that is, you've got to give me a female end. You've got to get me the feed so that when my blog posts like OnlyWire or anything else, that it automatically will syndicate to. On the enterprise platform will automatically syndicate, so that I don't have to go in and have to try to figure out the system every day. Okay? And on top of that, it's got to meet Sue's standards, which it just does not. She will not let me keep a backlinking system for any of our networks if it doesn't. I've tried this. I'll call Sue up and I'll say, "Hey man, I love this. This is so cool." And
Show me the money.
It even has my feed in, and I'll get really happy about something if it just gives me the illusion that I can drive my traffic through my feed to the backlinks, right? Well, that's not the way she works. This is why we make a great team for standards, because she'll go, okay, that's great, that's awesome, that's a checklist, check that off. Now where is this syndicating to?
Right.
And she actually checks all the backlinks and the quality of the platforms and where they're going, and by the end of the day, that just takes about 95% of the products off the market.
Yeah, it really does.
because between not automating your RSS feeds and not sending them to platforms that are really good, there's just not a lot of stuff out there right now. That's why we're. Go ahead, Matt.
The biggest problem with a lot of these tools is these guys create like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 blogs, and they own the networks. And these blogs have no page rank whatsoever.
Correct.
And they're just blasting all kinds of crap onto these blogs, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, you got all this stuff linking back to your
right. I mean, if you guys go to Back in the Box last night, I created a quick review for something we just put back in the box. And again, please, confidentially, the reason we're talking openly about this is because this is a paid private event. Okay, please don't publicize anything that we're saying. So I don't want to wade through more hate mail. Okay. Like for example, Social Monkey. Is a backlinking service we get a lot of questions about, right? So Sue had me check it out. So it's on my list of things that she doesn't have time for, like these some of these small things she can just look at and say, probably not. Russell, go check this out. So I go in there and I look at it, and when you start getting the backlink reports, it's exactly what Matt just described. It's hundreds upon hundreds of blogs that have the same header type design, the same Fiverr type quick install, and all these different things. Zero page rank, zero use. So essentially, Social Monkey might be good for a backlinking, for a pinging service like Pingler or something like that, but that's about it. It's not worth even the $90 a year that they're charging you for it, right? Yeah. And these are the things that I want to start sorting through this stuff so you guys don't have to, okay? So if you have a backlinking service or you're about to blow a bunch of money, do not hesitate, not even for a second now, to send it to me. I'll check it out, or Sue. Or she'll sign it to me if she hasn't got time. Sometimes she's a bad cop, so she'll just look at something and go, I'm not even interested in looking at it. So she can tell from the sales page a lot of the time. But if you have something that you want to look at, don't hesitate to send it to us, and it'll be our next victim on Back in the Box. Okay?
And let me give you my opinion on private blog networks.
Okay.
There's two types of private blog networks. There's the one type where they don't want to tell you what the blogs are because they don't want to get it reported to Google and get their blogs banned, which I completely understand. But then because they're not telling me where my inbound links are coming from, I can't go see the quality of the blog, and I can't see whether or not that blog is themed and how, what am I getting from my money. So I can't endorse that idea. And then the other one is the kind where they do tell me where my inbound links are coming from, but then all that has to happen is somebody from Google signs up and they find the whole blog ring and they shut it all down. So I can't at this point in time support inbound links from blog rings. It just doesn't make any sense to me either direction.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
The same kinds of things that we do inside of Domain Web Studio, those platforms, those social platforms that we recommend, those are the kinds of things that I look for on third-party inbound links. I'm looking for social structured inbound links predominantly. And then I just go through and check and see what kind of platforms and how well, does it look like a machine did it? Is it terrible spun content, or is it a quality link? So those are the kinds of ideas. So let me just go through, because now the list of questions is really huge. So let me try and.
I want to add one more thing to this, then I'll close it out. Okay, Sue, I'm sorry. It's such the common denominator of so many questions that I just want to make sure I address it.
Okay.
Sue and I talked late last night. I think we had coffee at 2 a.m. or something. We were talking about this.
Us?
And the main thing is that please, and you're going to see a couple of courses coming out over the next month, especially my what we call WR2, where I'm going to reveal everything about how to automate blogs with actual page rank that you can use for backlinking to your own sites. Sue has taught all of us to be very much in an investment state of mind. Build your own WR2 blogs if you possibly can. It's so worth it. I can't tell you over the last 5 years how much I have seen, because we've actually started counting the numbers of all the things you can blow your money on versus just building it yourself. I'm going to give you my own recipe of a 200-step, WR2 blog that over time will grow in page rank. Matt has his own version. Sue has hers. It's better to just start building your own. Now, when you're trying to quick start and quick kick, you can see on networkempirenews.com, there's a couple of things I'm using. I use Social Adder. I'm really enjoying it right now, and it's got a thumb up for me. Sue is still in the audit process with it. There's things that I use that every day I'll get a Google Plus or I'll get some social stuff coming in. These things I don't mind for kind of a kick in the pants when you're starting to, generate a new site or these types of things. But when it comes to really blowing huge amounts of money on backlinking, really start becoming an investor in how you're generating your backlinks and start thinking about building your own network of sites. That's why we call ourselves Network Empire, right?
Exactly.
We want you to own the real estate in which your page rank and traffic is being generated. And I know it takes more effort longer term, but I mean, look at your own life right now. How long have you been in this business? I mean, what would have happened if you'd started building general platforms several years back? Maybe you have, some of you listening have. You would have, even if they got hit with Panda or all these other so-called monsters, black and white monsters of various kinds, there's easy ways to just pick all of that stuff back up. At least you have the platform. Okay, so it's better to start thinking in terms of an investment rather than, take for example, Social Monkey, which is a review that I gave a back in the box, okay, after Sue and I looked at it. They own all those platforms. That's what you call a user or a newbie-funded blog network. we could be doing that with you as well, right? Telling you, there's all these great backlinks and so on and so forth, and for $87 a year, we give you this bunch of crap, right? Well, that's just not what we do. We want to invest in you. We want you to have your own long-term. This is a little bit out of the reach of local leads, but still, we need to start communicating with you that that's the best way to go. All right, so I'll get out of the way and we can start jumping these questions.
Okay. In general, what gives you the most bang for your buck? CPA, PPV, PPC? I think it depends on the market.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I can't say that there's a simple answer to that. You're just going to have to try a little bit. It depends on your budget, and you want to make sure that obviously that all of your tracking is in place before you actually start spending money for traffic.
Yeah, like for example, the CPA with white teeth, if you're selling teeth whitener for a company, or you're getting dentists leads to get people's teeth whitened, then CPA would be a good place where you'd go look for it, because you've got the international audience that you can deal with, and you can branch out all over the place. But you have to go look at what you're doing, and you have to match and mirror the traffic sources, the demographic. That's the core pointer, is the demographic. You have to connect the right demographic with the right product or the right service. If you don't do those things up front and you start putting money in it, you will not get conversions. That's just the reality of it.
That's right. And I also want to add that this is not a CPA course.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to emphasize that, because CPA, if we were doing a CPA course, there's about 3 or 4 other layers of complexity I would have to add to what it is that we're showing. I mean, you can definitely use CPA. It's another type of monetization, but it's one that almost everyone that I've ever seen who just get into it for that fail at. So, I've seen advanced people get in and do really well at CPA. Is there anyone, I'm kind of curious how many people there are in this class that are doing well with CPA right now. If you would just type in that you're working CPA profitably, be really curious, because we've had a few requests for some courses, and we're happy to do that. Matt and I have talked about that. But again, CPA is an option, maybe when you're up and running, or if you change your transactional model. But again, this is more about owning the leads and selling. I mean, the model's not that different, but we're talking about having a relationship with the business owner on the ground.
Matt's actually talking about using that for advertising, not monetization.
Okay.
I thought it was a monetization model.
Oh, no, you're buying the traffic.
Oh, yeah, good. Thank you.
You're taking CPA traffic and you're sending it to your own lead engine.
Okay, I've got CPA on the brain because I've had several emails personally in the last couple of days. It's like I want to launch this site and I want to make money through monetizing CPA on it. So I apologize for that. I misunderstood.
No. What I was talking about when I talk about CPA PPV, my whole focus with traffic and my lead engine, it's all about me and my leads and how many I can generate and how can I max it out. How can I push it to the utmost where it's just humming, the machine's got to hum. Because if you look at Google says, oh, I can only get 250 leads, but that's not the truth because Google's not the only source of traffic in the web. You've got the whole other paid stuff. You've got mobile. Mobile's a whole different a can of worms as well, which you can add into the mix. The point being is you want to take that traffic, wherever the source is from, you want to match the demographic, and then you want to basically put the right type of offer in front of their traffic so that they can fill in the form, which then goes into your lead engine, which then gets redirected to the actual business owner buying the leads off you. And that's how you need to think about it.
Yeah, and I would still say, like, don't jump into CPA without some training. So even if you're buying your traffic, get some. We're not covering in this particular webinar the ins and outs of how to manage successful campaigns. But if we get a lot of feedback from you guys on that, we'll know which direction you want to go. Most of the traffic that we were running through Domain Web Studio launches and the rest, we've played around a lot with video, the video pay-per-click campaigns, and the cost per million and the rest. And we seem to have some success. There's Google AdWords is getting so complex right now that it's been really quite remarkable trying to get our heads around it during our last campaign. Wouldn't you say, Sue?
Yeah, what they've done with local ads is kind of crazy in my humble opinion. I would be inclined to. Well, so what you end up doing. So I ran some ads for my yoga client, and because yoga is a pretty broad term, I mean they were a specific kind of yoga, but I wanted to hit something broader than just that. And so if I want to advertise for a broad term, I can narrow it down to a zip, which we have pretty big zip codes here in the Valley, and so they were only interested in like 1 or 2 zip codes. So while you can narrow it down to that zip, I'm still competing on a price for the guys who are doing ads nationally, which I just think is stupid, right? So there's one other guy here in the Valley who must be spending an arm and a leg on pay-per-click. It doesn't matter what yoga term you look for, he's always at #1. And my client wanted to outrank him, wanted to come up in the ads above him. I mean, he knew it was going to cost him money, but as I started looking into it, I went back to him and I'm like, now you're going to have a serious budget for this. This is not like $100 or $200 a month. This is a serious budget. And I think it's really crazy because I'm having to look at $3 a click ads because I'm competing against guys who are bidding on a national level. So that just frustrates the heck out of me. I think that with all of the forward movement that Google's made on a local level, that they need to come back around and take a look at their pricing structure on a local level, or it's just not going to work. I see people actually leaving Google pay-per-click in droves anyway. Everybody that I've talked to recently has abandoned them.
Yeah, because the thing that's really working now, we've got a lot of friends that are doing really well, is the image network, right, where you have the graphics and the banners and the rest. But you've got to really know what you're doing. And, we've had some luck also in, most of you are, and I actually forgot to mention this, so I'm glad we came back around to this. Google AdWords and YouTube promotion,
videos, yeah.
YouTube video promotion have now merged their offices. They moved all their offices together. And, if you go into one of the videos, this is one of the things I do recommend. Is that if you're just making small microsites like in the way that Matt has been describing for, using the themes that we've given you and the rest, and you do have either one video made or you make a video for local, it's a good idea to go to Fiverr and go ahead and do a traffic geyser gig and do a single blast Fiverr promotion for your videos through the network. Usually what that just consists of is that they'll put through traffic geyser and so on and so forth, and that does give you some backlink juice and starts giving you a kick for that video right away. If you want to go to a deeper level, and that's beyond the scope of this course, but I do want, it's something to be on your radar. You can actually go into that YouTube video, and right on your YouTube account that's tied to that video, you can click promote this video. And what happens is it'll begin to connect you directly to your AdWords campaign. Yes, the same AdWords campaign that you use for local or anything else. They're quickly trying to merge everything into one campaign, and they call it all video campaigns inside your Google AdWords account. Now be very careful with this. I'm just letting you know that it's there. We're going to stop with it there. But we did have some success of generating traffic and conversions and getting people in our webinar by promoting our video via the Google AdWords video, what's called the YouTube merger or the YouTube video campaign. But just make sure that you're aware that there's plenty of things that you're going to have to learn and to not shoot yourself in the foot. But it is definitely a way to get traffic. And as Sue said, things are changing big time, so you want to walk through Google AdWords account with kid gloves when you're starting to merge all these things, and just make sure that you know what you're doing. And if there's enough interest on this topic, we can consider covering how to promote the video and the local video through the video campaigns. And you can narrow your bandwidth with your video campaign directly to local keywords only if you want. And it's fairly inexpensive. That's what I like about it, because it's kind of like that new gold rush. I don't expect it to last for more than another year, but it is definitely a thing that you want to do if you have a video made, that local homepage video that you're making for whatever local niche that you're in.
Right. Okay. Highly targeted, very cheap. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. Very much so. Okay.
Okay, so to wrap back around to the questions, do we use FeedBlitz only for RSS? That's the only thing I use it for personally.
Yeah. You want me to answer that, Sue?
Yeah, go for it.
I have two clients. One of them is extremely happy. I'm going to be cautious here. They're extremely happy with FeedBlitz as a replacement for FeedBurner as they're on their WR1, which is their top level site, their real money site, for their RSS puller. They like it because they like the interface, and there's some user options that FeedBlitz has that FeedBurner does not, or for whatever reason they just like the way that it looks better. So what I'm talking about is when you click on their site, their homepage, to the RSS button, and a user wants to follow them on RSS, they have grown to love FeedBlitz for the RSS interaction with their audience, okay, as a user follow-up. I don't personally use it for that. Sue does not personally use it for that. I default to FeedBurner, and a lot of the browsers like Chrome pretty much take care of that for you, and they're more and more you're going to see the response setting on browsers to be user organized. So I would say the answer to that is I do have two clients that use it for that, and they're happy with it for whatever reason, but we are not currently recommending it to replace FeedBurner at this time. We'll keep you guys informed. There are other services that you can use as a default to replace FeedBurner. The FeedBlitz evacuation kit is available if you want to get rid of FeedBurner altogether. We're very closely watching FeedBurner's strategies. I predict its demise sometime between 2013 and 14. I don't see it happening this year. I don't even necessarily see it happening next year. I don't know. What are your feelings about that, Sue?
I'm not certain that it's going to go completely away, but I have seen. I mean, since FeedBurner was bought by Google, I've seen it change drastically, and they've ripped the guts out of it. So it's not as useful as it used to be.
Yeah, it's a little unsettling because Sue and I were looking last year at they promised a redesign and all this and that, and then was a big, and so Google had a bunch of juice for it, and then they abandoned that redesign completely, and they never came back to it. It's all very unsettling. So what I tend to do is I tend to hedge against all contingencies. So the reason I provided FeedBlitz as a backup plan is that in the event that they pull a Google on us, which is what they did with the feed reader, Google Reader. I mean, they literally destroyed a whole feed network that I had overnight by removing the Google Shared Reader, and that was my own fault because I didn't have any other contingency plans, right? So I presented FeedBlitz as a contingency plan, and Phil's a great guy. He has several developers working on staff, and his whole plan is to replace Google FeedBurner when they go defunct. I mean, he's actually written about that. He's the owner of FeedBlitz. So their evacuation kit is something you might want to just, have on your radar in the event that there's, we say, hey, like we did with Google Reader, you've got 2 weeks to get your stuff out of here. That's essentially what they did. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
And in the event that happens, that's just good business, right, guys? Okay. So I'm recommending Phil's software as an evacuation kit in the event that you hear that they decide that feeds. Remember, I said earlier in this conversation that feeds are where the power is at, and 2 times now Google has taken away our power with feeds. I'm just telling you, like hands down, no question. Right, if they do that with FeedBurner, just be prepared to jump over to FeedBlitz. I use FeedBlitz for one feed. I know that I taught you guys that in the Google Plus course. It's because I wanted to give you an alternative to that. And at the time, Yahoo Pipes and FeedBurner were not playing nicely. That seems to have been resolved fairly well. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about that. Just prepare, have it on your radar in case you need to do a mass exodus.
All right. Next question. Shoot, it's starting to scroll off the screen. Joe's still a little stuck with setting up an address as the location that he's targeting. What services do we suggest to give a legit address in an area so that you can get a Google Places page and local citations? The key is that it has to have, you either have to have a unique address or you have to have a unique phone number. So in other words, you can share a desk in an office space just so long as it's got a unique phone number. Now that phone number doesn't even have to ring in that office, right? It can forward to your phone. But that's one option, is to just rent space someplace so that basically mail can be sent there. And and then the other option is there's a lot of these places where you can actually get a lot of these postal services stores where you can actually get a mailbox. It's not a U.S. mailbox, it's just a post mailbox. And what you can do then is call that post box a suite. So let's say that you've got the box number that you've got is 101. What you end up doing is you use the address of the postal service as your address, and then you say suite 101. And you have to make sure that the postal service that you're using obviously can route your mail that way, but most of the smaller ones can accommodate you that way. And it's not terribly expensive. I don't know, it's like $50 a year or something like that to get a P.O. box.
Yeah, Joe, I just successfully tested that and pulled it off for a client of ours.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, I have the Google snail mail confirm postcard in my hand right here. So it does work,
Yeah.
And it's kind of expensive, honestly. This one is in Prescott, Arizona, so nobody go for that territory. Just kidding. It's in Prescott's wellness coaching or something like that. It's actually it went through just fine, but it's almost $15 a month. So I'm sure you can find better than that.
Yeah,
just looking around a little bit.
We got a client that's done it for 40 different addresses so that they can get local on a national level.
Yeah, it's a pretty huge thing, and you guys can start thinking like that. I mean, that's pretty impressive. He really went for it. And the phone numbers are resolved for him too, as well, right, Sue?
Yeah, he's got 40 different phone numbers.
Yeah, that's
those phone numbers. You can buy them in batches of 12. It's all got to do with the trunk lines that come into the call centers, and typically what happens is you buy up your 0800 numbers or your 845.
You want local numbers.
You can't use 877s for local. Yeah, that's pretty new, Matt. They don't allow.
No, but no, what I'm saying is you can actually buy the numbers. That's any number you want. You can buy them cheap.
Yeah.
And we have to give you the correct. We don't have any current services right now that we're recommending to buy telephone numbers. Sue might have some, but I personally do not. I've been asked twice, like, where do I buy phone numbers? Like, back when Magic Jet.
I'll look it up. I know.
You have those, right?
Yeah, I can find those.
I don't know what to recommend on that front, but I do know that one of the clients Sue has, which is going everywhere, all over the U.S., has successfully done that. So if any of you are interested in that, we can probably find some good sources for you.
Yeah, we'll stick that in the local leads members area here in a minute. Somebody asked me about Hoth for inbound links. I have looked at their sales page. I haven't actually tried them yet. They're on my list.
It's on our list of tests. I figured Sue would end up assigning me that test. I don't know.
I might keep that one myself.
Yeah, excellent. It's on our radar. In either case, that's going to be back in the box or not. We'll go ahead and test it. It's been given great reviews. The guys are doing fairly diverse hubbing. They're just doing the classic Squidoo link, hub pages, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's nothing complicated that they're doing. What I like about them is that they are showing you each and everything that they're doing. Squidoo still works, guys.
Yeah.
No question. And if you do it right.
Yeah.
Just make sure you use your Kraken or your Domain One Studio KDNA. I mean, I've tested 3 of these recently, and I started getting traffic within 3 days from them. I don't know what that is. It's just crazy, but Squidoo still pulls. Okay. So Hoth, the reason I bring that up is that Hoth is doing Squidoo and a few other, link. It's basically a link hub and link pyramid type stuff. I would have to say that I don't know if I should do this. Sue, jump in, correct me if I'm wrong. Honestly, what they're providing for, I hate to commoditize the SEO industry. Geez, I'm contributing, aren't I? But if you go to Fiverr, you get pretty much the same thing if you start testing a little bit for what they're charging like $119 for. And I just have to say that that's the scary thing about what's happening in SEO, you guys, is like with a little bit of testing and a little bit of checking, you can find crazy stuff for high-reviewed things that are doing really, really well that you're going to pay $120 as an agency for. So one of the things that you guys need to start thinking about when you start adding on and increasing the value to your clients and your services is making sure that you really distinguish and create distinction for what it is that you're offering so that you can mark up that price. I don't feel like those guys have made themselves distinct enough for me to not go out in Fiverr and create a better hub test. Right. So that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. Stephen asked if it was YouTube video promotions that's highly targeted and very cheap. Yes, it was.
Ridiculously so. Okay, so we can provide you. I guess we could do a little video. Like it's crazy. Like as soon as you upload a video, you can just go into the share function, and they start trying to pitch you right there for promoting the video. And again, this course is not targeting any information on how to do that, and there are plenty of courses out there. Just be careful because in the same way that it's easy to get traffic that way, it's easy to really screw it up. So, if you guys show a lot of interest in learning more about that, we'll take it into consideration and provide you more information.
Russell mentioned in the last email that you have access to the Local Search Empire course. It's not the entire course. It's just one page that I'm referencing inside the Local Leads Empire course. And when you click on that, you will have access to that page.
And that page is a significant part of the course, probably the most valuable, so it's in there. Jeez, I really screwed that up.
Reduce my 10-part course to one important idea. Let me smack you.
Well, the fact is I just really screwed up. I just told everyone they have access.
That's okay.
So I don't know. I mean, I could get called out on that.
They do have access to that one page.
Oh, jeez. All right, we'll talk later.
Okay.
Okay.
What are the chances of being able to organize, this is a little bit off topic, to being able to organize smaller tiers of mastermind groups within the network empire base upon the levels that a person might be at? Interesting idea. What I think that is going to probably address that best is that we're going to start to have a whole lot more courses, and you're probably going to be able to find where a course that fills the void that you're looking for, but we'll talk about that a little bit offline and see. It's an interesting idea. I completely understand what you're trying to say, Don.
Yeah, I understand what you're going through. Also, a lot of the questions that people have been impatient about having to do with RSS, specifically targeting my neck of the woods. I'm creating the PinVid meme addiction blog automation course right now. I've got 3 videos already in there. And it's been the thing that I've been resisting doing because a lot of it's stuff that we create in our certification course. But Sue and I have found a way to be able to present that material to you in a way that is just mind-blowing and gives you a lot of that. And again, we're not going to be including that in the Local Leads Empire course. I'm sorry, we just didn't charge enough for it. But we are coming out with that course, making that available. We'll talk about different launch prices and the rest. But in there, I'm going to be completely running around telling you exactly everything that we do for building a certain type of blog in our blog network that Sue and I do for clients and Matt So that's kind of what it's the only way I know how to handle the volume, the sheer volume, and top secret stuff that we do for you guys is just to incrementally dish it out in separate modules. It's just the best. We're not going to be releasing that to the default members area in Network Empire, because if we did, we'd have to raise the price to $300 a month. So that's kind of what we're doing right now is segmenting all of the stuff, because some people who are taking the Local Leads Empire course are not interested in creating WR2 video, pin, traffic and PageRank supporting sites. They're just not interested in doing that. They'd rather buy their traffic. Other people are more interested in building those things for clients, right? So we just have to partition all of these modules so that people can pick and choose what it is that they want based on value and based on their own business model.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Okay.
There's a question from Joe there. For the UK guys, Message Direct is the company you want to contact. It's the best one I've found. I've used them for years. Very cost effective, and they talk you through the whole process you've got to go through. It's very, very simple.
Of what, Matt?
Easy to set up. Basically, Joe's asked UK as well. Maybe Matt knows 4 phone numbers, please.
Okay. Excellent.
If you just type in messagedirect.co.uk, you'll be able to get hold of their website, and their service is really good. That's for the 24/7 call center type answering thing. But I'll be covering that in tomorrow's course.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, good.
All right. Yeah, I guess we are going to be seeing everybody tomorrow, so we should probably start thinking about wrapping up.
Yep, I think we're done. We seem to have covered most of the questions.
Okay. All right, you guys, we've added the transcriptions, finally the second transcription to the short version that Matt and I did on number 2. And we'll get this up in the members area as soon as we possibly can. And if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to send them to the appropriate place, where we will attempt to answer them to the best of our ability. And also, I am very interested on the things that you are most passionate about. If we've given you some ideas or kind of tickled some new concepts that you want to expand upon, don't hesitate to let us know. Okay, just contact us and we'll start to expand on that stuff. And also, if there's things that are outside of the scope of the Local Leads Empire course that you're interested in knowing more about, such as courses we mentioned today, go ahead and email me at russell@themezoom.com so that I know that you're passionate and interested about certain topics, so I can let Sue and Matt know what has been most interesting to you, and we'll begin to expand on that. As far as I'm concerned, that's probably enough for today. Sue, Matt, I want to thank you totally for being here. And guys, I'm really excited about tomorrow's thing. Matt, just quickly cover what it is you're going to cover in tomorrow's webinar.
Yeah, tomorrow is like the cherry on the cake. This is how we're going to take everything we've learned here, and we're going to sort of extract ourselves out of the business and put the automation into place, put the people into place, so we can go and build the next thing. And this is where I'm going to start integrating with call centers, and I'm going to introduce you to companies that actually do the call tracking, guys that answer the calls 24/7, and it gives you a big corporate type of feel, but it's just your website, that's what's running. That's what we did. It's brilliant, and this is where your scripts and all your type of stuff come into play.
Fantastic. I look forward to it. All right, you guys, thanks a lot for everything, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow, same bat time, same bat cave.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.